Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. We are now live with a special guest today. Eddie Duyos is joining us. Very exciting topic, innovation in beauty. Eddie is a head of pro artistry and product development for Make-up Forever and a veteran of beauty industry, as he self-proclaims, even though he does not look like that at all. And we're excited to have Eddie. And Eddie, what's on your mind?
I mean, there's a lot on my mind this week. I don't know if people realize, in my world right now, it's the Met Gala is happening on Monday. And it's called, the theme is super fine tailoring Black style. And that can go in many different ways, right? And so what I'm like, you get caught in your everyday, you're doing your thing all the time, and you forget all the things that you've done historically. So I had the Met Gala suites on this past Wednesday, where we're like gifting makeup artists, stylists, fashion stylists, hairdressers, everyone. And about 95% of the people that were walking in there, I've either worked with or cross paths with, because as you said, I am a self-proclaimed veteran. I've been doing this for like 30 years. So at some point I've crossed paths with every single one of these people who are working with your favorite celebrities like Renee Rapp or Sarah Paulson, Rihanna, like all these people, right? And so, you think like I'm just a makeup artist or, I'm doing product development, but like all the things that like all the little things throughout my career that I've been able to do to kind of shift that like concept of beauty and what is beauty and the beauty standards and, inclusivity and making sure that everyone is seen. It's like, it's such an important thing. And you're like, wow, like, I've been doing this.
It is wow, Eddie. Absolutely wow. So I will jump in with a question.
Yeah.
Let's just anchor into the number that you just gave us 30 years ago. Like, look back then. What did beauty look like then? And what does it look like now?
So, I mean, when I learned to do makeup with Moses back in Bible times, all right, it was a whole different era. Like, there was this Eurocentric concept of beauty. Everything was about like symmetry in the face and like the oval shape and very, very, very Eurocentric. Like that was the iconic, beauty standard. And it's like, it's not a reality. It's not real. Like not everyone can fit in that standard. And it was like unattainable. And you're secluding so many different people. And there's so many different, beautiful features in every single culture. So it's like, that's how we learned how to do makeup. That's how we learned. And it was like, even back then in the 90s, I was like, this doesn't seem right, And, I pushed and I tried to find brands that I could work with or work with makeup artists that didn't have that kind of secluded concept of beauty. And it was very difficult. And so, I kind of started going on my own journey. So like beauty back then to beauty now, like beauty now is there's a celebration of, skin tones and like features, strong jawlines, wider noses, narrower noses, but natural features that are strong, prominent, that show strength or show like innocence, anything like, you're more about symmetry versus like shoving people into what this concept of beauty is, which is not real, So
yeah, this has been in the news lately with Amy Lou Wood with the whole teeth thing, right? Like the White Lotus. Yeah. It's like a shift back to wait, you're who you actually are is beautiful without having to fit in that super specific mold.
Yeah, and it's just not a reality. It's just not real. Like, I think there's beauty in every single piece of it. And I think especially so I'm on a global collective, on the product development teams, and I'm the loudest voice. Like I have to be because, and I have these conversations, with other people in other parts of the world, like the Middle East, and our team is in Europe. They're in Paris. So you're talking about a country, ours, that's only maybe 500. We're not even 1,000 years old, right? And then I'm talking to people that are in these countries that are like 3,000 years old in history. And so like, you're like, guys, like you have to understand like inclusivity and showing everyone and celebrating everything is so important. It's not even about beauty. It's political. It's like, you have to be sure that you're representing everyone and everything and celebrating, because it's a reality. Like this country is really so diverse I mean, and all the other companies are too. No, I'm not saying, but like it's a huge point here. So like, I have to be the loudest voice. I have to speak and scream and yell for everyone here. And sometimes it's a very uncomfortable conversation to have, but like someone has to have it. And I've taken it upon myself to be like, you know what? I'm going to champion this because I've been championing this since like 1993. So like, I'm going to keep going because I do feel like, you know, it's been a long time of like making sure that everyone is represented and that like beauty, there's so much beauty in so many different ways. Like, I don't want it to be that way anymore.
I love this point that you're making and this idea of beauty and how we depict beauty as actually a fundamentally political statement. And I think particularly true in this very strange moment that we find ourselves.
I would also say it's very societal, right? Because at least in our country, politics sometimes changes in increments of 4 or 8, right? But the evolution of society happens, and it's a long road.
Yeah, it's a very long road.
Yeah, and I have my question for you actually is a slightly different topic. One of the things you said in the very beginning was you were talking about sort of all these sort of incremental things that you have done over the course of your career that have made your career basically, it sounds like, quite amazing. And so I'd love to hear from you, like, what is it that if you could go back, 30 years, again, using your number, but 30 years ago, what would you have told yourself? What advice would you have given yourself 30 years ago?
Don't be afraid. I think, when you're when you're starting at like 23 and you're just like, I want to be a part of it. Like, and, I maybe wasn't as confident back then as I am right now. And it's like, I wish I could just go back and say, scream louder. Yeah. Don't be afraid, And I would do things, like I said, incrementally, but like a little bit more quiet because I felt like I didn't have the experience. Like I needed to pay my dues because that's how it really was back then. Like you pay your dues first and then you can open your mouth. Right. So it's like, it was very different back then, but I think I would just say, scream louder, and don't be afraid. And like, you know what, if someone doesn't like it, it's okay. Be respectful, be kind, be mindful, but bring your point across. And I think that's probably what I would tell myself.
And Eddie, on this subject, right, if we think about it, the field of innovation by definition must be and is filled with people like yourself, that personality that's not afraid to push the boundaries, that does see the future, and that says, yes, of course, I'll pay my dues, but I am seeing not just tomorrow, but a week in the year and whatnot out. So you're looking at, beauty as we see it now. And what are you seeing at the frontier? What are you seeing ahead?
I mean, I think first of all, it's so hard to kind of look forward right now because everything changes, especially with like social media and, everything. And even with like AI kicking in and all these things that are happening, everything moves so fast, right? So to kind of look forward, it's very difficult for not just me, everyone in the industry right now, because you just don't know. Because like, I'll tell you right now, like there could be a trend happening right now and 3 days from now, it's gone. Where like when I was maybe like 15, 20 years ago, a trend was happening and it stayed for like a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years. So I think what I foresee for the future in beauty is like, how quick and how agile can you be, right? Agility is key. Move with the time. We can't, like, I know there's people that are like, yeah, but when we used to do this and back then, and like, you got to let that go and you got to keep moving forward. Like, just go. And what's next? What's moving the needle? Obviously right now, AI is a huge thing for us, right? So it's like, how can we use that for our inspirations, or how is that going to work for us? Because in beauty, you can do a lot of things with the AI, but there's a lot you cannot do. Okay, because nothing will.
So when you talk about AI in beauty, are you talking about like how is it appearing in like a print ad or on screen, or is it like actually does AI somehow transform into the physical, tangible world? I mean, and how does that happen? I'm just like, it's not a space that
it's interesting because, especially with makeup artistry, like people are like, oh, they're going to replace it with AI because, you can go in and you can create these like images, like these avatar, like very human-like images. And it's like, yes, you can, right? And of course you can do that. And it could be a campaign, but it will never look like what you're trying to sell, no matter what. And AI can create these beautiful images,
right?
But you'll never see the human touch, which in turn would be false advertising.
Yeah.
Well, you also can't walk outside with that on your face, right?
Right.
You can't actually go to the Met Gala.
Well, you would be surprised because, like, even like I will give you just a funny thing. Like, hey, listen, I love drag queens and I watch all the drag shows, and like in this last season of, for example, RuPaul's Drag Race, there's a drag queen. She comes out, one of them. I don't know what country or it's ours. Beautiful outfit, mask with an AI face on it.
Oh.
So, I mean, it will appear in different ways. Obviously, she had a full bead of makeup underneath the mask, right? But like, there is that presentation of technology, and it's always going to, especially nowadays, technology, anything digital is a definite cross into what I do on the daily. But again, the saving grace for us in our industry is like, nothing is like the human eye. Nothing is like the human touch. It's like looking at a painting versus like a digital output. Like, you can see brush strokes. You can see the human touch, the human hand. It's a beautiful thing to see. It's artisanal. You'll never get that from an AI image, right? And so I think there's ways of using it to our advantage. And then there's ways that it's never going to affect what we do as an artist,
So I want to pick up on what you mentioned as you were talking about technology. You mentioned AI, but you also mentioned something that I hadn't really thought about, which is how AI or how technology has impacted the speed of beauty. And I had never thought about this idea that, like, with TikTok or whatever, there's like things like that. Like, you suddenly have this democratization. Like, so 1950s, like, beauty was like who they put in the magazine and who they put on the screen, right? And now it's like it can literally be like, you can have somebody like, I don't even know if she's like all that popular anymore, but like Charli D'Amelio suddenly appears out of nowhere, and now you've got this new definition of like what people want to emulate and look like. So fascinated to hear how that has sort of changed, how that has changed the industry.
Like massive. Like, I think it's probably the most massive impact we've had as like in artistry and in beauty brands in general, right? So like, you would even think about, like, I go back to like when I worked corporately, I want to say maybe like 15, 20 years ago, where like there were these massive marketing budgets for shoots, for campaigns, fly people in, fly people out, on location. You're talking like maybe like for us in beauty, like $2 million, $3 million was a big budget for marketing, if not more. All right. So like now it's like, yeah, you're getting like 90K. Why? Because because what happens is, if you pay the right influencer, doesn't matter if the standard of beauty they're creating is good, if the makeup looks, if it's bad, it's the fact that this person has 1.3 million followers, can influence them, even if they influence 200,000 of those people to buy and purchase. That's EMV right there. That's marketing value right there. What we don't have to pay.
Right.
Yes, that's a very, very good point. And I actually want to go back and close the loop on AI here, because there are now AI influencers.
Of course.
So where do you think that's going?
I don't, it's hard to say, because I think, again, even from an influencership, you're going to need that human being to show the product, to show how it works, even if it's sloppy and messy. Because Lord knows I see a lot of that too on social media, like really. But people watching is entertaining. Like, I see makeup art, and there were these, and we're gonna just throw, and like literally like throwing foundation all over there, and they're just like rubbing it all over. You're watching it because you're looking, oh my God, it's like a train wreck. I can't stop watching, right? But this person is influencing these people to buy this product. So I still think, from an influencership perspective, you still need a human and the human touch and the actual like reality of I think where the AI influencership could potentially kind of, I don't want to say impact, but assist, is how it can provide the brand experience to people. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is that like? What is that like avatar? I'm just gonna say avatar for conversation's sake. What does that avatar look like in the world of Chanel beauty? Like, what is the day? Like, what does it look like? I'm walking through the fields. Like, I think there's an experience that you'll be able to provide through AI influencership more so than product influencership. So it's like they'll be able to influence the lifestyle. You want to be a part of this club, right?
Yeah.
But not product wise, I think.
So I have a bit of a shift in the conversation, because this has actually been on my mind for the last few minutes, but I was trying to find a place to drop it in. But there's so I want to talk about gender for a second, in the sense that beauty is often sort of discussed, or has historically been discussed, in terms of sort of women being the objects, and there's this whole concept of the male gaze and the sort of like consumption almost of beauty, if you will. And I think it's also interesting in the same vein to see, and I'm also probably outdated in my reference, but like to see like Harry Styles or other people like actually kind of going outside of the boundaries of what the sort of that male beauty kind of what's allowed. You're only allowed to wear a suit, like it can be this brand of suit or that brand of suit, but that's all you get. What can you talk about that gender aspect and how that's changing?
Of course, because I live that every single day. So like, wait, if you could only see what I'm wearing tonight for a gala that I'm going to. So it's like, I think it's a beautiful thing. I think, I understand. So perfect example in my email signature, where you're supposed to put your pronouns, right? I put all pronouns. I tell them whatever you want to call me. It doesn't bother me. All right. Call me with respect, because I do acknowledge my feminine energy listen, I'm a gay man. I'm explorative. I'm a kid from the 90s. I was a goth kid. I was in what we used to call androgynous. I had no eyebrows. I was very experimental. And I think men have never been given the permission to kind of explore that about themselves. Or like, to your point, this is a suit you wear your Ferragamo shoes to work because that's what you do. You're a corporate executive, and that's fine. And I understand like there needs to be some kind of conservative garb to certain industries of what you're working in. But I don't think I think men have never been given the permission to explore that side of themselves. We have also never been given the permission to explore our feelings and emotions. You need to shut it up, go to work, provide, and come home. Like, no feelings. And I think that is, one of the most beautiful things that I can actually say about this time right now is, why not? Like, why can you not? Like, listen, I've been wearing a skirt since 1995, and people would I've been tortured on the subways. I've been tortured on the New Jersey Transit, and I never cared. And I'm very male presenting. I mean, Elena can tell you, I work out, but there's days I'll wear a tunic and, or I'll wear a suit with a pair of high heels. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think I'm so excited for that, because I've been living that for my whole life. And it's very hard. And, even as a gay man to get you have to, and even in my community, you're a gay man, but are you muscular, or are you a twink, or so again, classifying. We're not allowing people to just be. So I think I love this whole concept of gender fluidity and, owning that. And, today I feel and you want to say, girl, what's going on? I'm going to respond right back to you. Yes, girl, what's going on?
So Eric, just picking up from there is a permission for you to shave your eyebrows, in case you're wondering.
Listen,
that's where you were going with that conversation.
No, see, I grew up in a time where the sort of the limitations were, do I wear my gray sweatshirt or my blue sweatshirt? But actually I see this in my children, even just as much, or maybe even more so, of they have their my daughter, I feel has a lot more leeway to express herself than my son feels like he has. Now that's not everybody. Some people kind of break out of that and they're like, I'm going to go this way. But I think there's definitely some, there's definitely some, feeling that you're locked in. But at the same time, there's also, that it's a double-edged sword, right? You have more opportunity maybe to express yourself as a woman, but you also have more unwanted attention as a result. So it's a complicated issue.
And I think it goes back to and I hate to say this, like our generations, like, and also depends on cultural, like, to your point, like I'm a first generation kid here. Like my parents moved out of Spain and they came here in 1971. They grew up under a fascist dictatorship, very Catholic. I was meant to be a doctor. I was like, you are going to medical school. You are going to be successful, like we are going to church on Sunday. You are wearing that suit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it was very hard because I had to battle myself a lot because my parents were not going to let me that. And at one point, I have a very, very, if you haven't noticed, a very strong personality. And I had to go up against my family and it was very hard for me to just be like, I need to be me, and I don't care. And if you don't want me, I don't care. And it was a very hard thing, but it is like, as long as you're providing that permission and people feel comfortable and, and respecting, I had that conversation of like, I don't understand why I need to say they, them. Like, why can't it just, they need to decide. I'm like, why do you care? If they want to identify as that, just out of respect, just say, hey, and if you mess up, I'm so sorry. Like, I know it's important to you and it's important to them. Who gives a crap how it's not about you, it's about that person. So like, just be respectful, be a good human and acknowledge how they want to be represented and be spoken to.
Right. And it's so fascinating because I think so much of the backlash, what you're talking about, this sort of bristling at saying they, them, or using the appropriate pronouns, whatever, it's so much about people's own discomfort with themselves, right? It's like and like this, and all of this sort of societally induced shame and whatever. And to your point, like, just let people be who they are. Like, there doesn't need to be some bigger conversation. If it's like, I have this stupid analogy I like to use. It's like, if somebody says I love snakes and you hand them a snake, like that's okay. If somebody says I hate snakes and you hand them a snake, you're kind of a terrorist, right? Like,
you're attacking them.
Like, just why not treat people like, if somebody tells you something, don't be like, you should be different than you are. Just accept that's who they are. And Elena and Eric know this. My kids are both transgender. It is a tough time right now. Oh. We have this societal like backlash of people trying to be like, oh no, wait a second, this isn't the way we were raised. It's like, well, maybe the way we were raised was stupid.
Let it go. It's generational. And you know what? And how easy it is to attack the smallest percentage of marginalized people.
Right.
You start there and then you keep going for the other ones. Like, so, I mean, again, it's like, they just like, and I have so many trans friends, right? And it's like, they just want to be.
Right.
Yep. They're not coming in going, we're going to come away guns. Like, they really are just like, so want to be.
So flipping that back to the sort of beauty, it's like that lack of ability to express yourself it works. It's like sort of it's the beauty is sort of the way that people are allowed to express themselves is sort of the microaggressive thing as opposed to the macroaggression against transgender and whatever. It's sort of this microaggression of like, you can't wear those pants because they have, a pattern on them. Yeah. Like, it's like that bad. Anyway, before we go on, Jeff, why don't you let's do the most important part is when we have Chat GPT or whatever LLM ask you stupid questions.
So ChatGPT is not as deep as we've gotten. So, but I will ask you. I always ask people, do you want thought-provoking or absurd first? I don't know. They're all the same this time, but just tell me, and you okay? Whatever. All right.
No, I hit the roulette. Hit me with that.
All right. All right. Here's the first one. If your career had a scent, would it be success, stress, sweat, or just one more coffee?
Just one more coffee. I feel like I live on caffeine. I mean, I'm sure Lena can tell you, like, so I have 2 jobs, right? So it's like, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I teach 4 group fitness classes. I go to CrossFit. I come home. I work my job, and then I'm back in bed to do it all over again. So it's like,
wait, I gotta back up here for a second. At 3 in the morning, who is actually joining your class? Is it like in Europe or something?
No, it takes me an hour to get myself moving so that I can walk to the studio to get it ready for the 5 a.m. class.
Because he just needs one more cup of coffee. Okay, so all right, my second question for you. Oh, there's so many good ones here, but I'll go with, what's the most creative excuse you've ever heard for a bad hair day? Thought-provoking. See?
Humidity? Come on.
No, I got into a bar fight.
And who was fighting?
No one. That was the whole, like, you're at 9:30 in the morning.
Oh, that is a good
You
one.
got into a bar fight at 9:30 in the morning.
That's awesome. That is excellent. Well, so we, this episode we called "Be the Voice to Impact Change in the Business of Beauty," and we've talked a lot about innovation. But what, from your perspective, like, where do you want to see the beauty industry go?
Change. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's in the right direction. I think there's this constant battle, and I tell you, so this is part of my battle, so I have a very unique position in my company, which I don't think exists in any other beauty brand. The closest one might be M.A.C, because I have directors of artistry, but the biggest challenge I have is, and I know there might be some marketing people out there, but the biggest challenge I have in this business is like marketing and me. Like, we sometimes go toe to toe, right? And I think the more that beauty marketing departments trust people like me, like, there's so many of us out there, and I know that, like, they want to hit the numbers, and PD says that this product is #1, so we need to shoot for that number, and we need to hit $1.5 million in this product, and blah blah blah, because that brand is doing this, so we need to do that. What any brand USA is doing. I think what I would like to see is for these brands to take people like me and to listen, right, and to allow us to help steer. And yes, listen, maybe I'm a unicorn, but I like to sell too. Like, I like to hit numbers because those numbers equal bonus for me too, right?
Right.
But like, I want that growth and that connection stronger and stronger to allow us to help you drive this ship to success and include what needs to be included so that you can be either the first one that presents, or another brand that is going to be able to welcome everyone and to succeed. So, like, I think that's what I would like to see, is to continue and having uncomfortable conversations. Like, listen, you got to have them. Like, I can't tell you how many times I walk into the Paris office and they're like, oh, here he comes. And I let it all out because it's the truth. Because if you don't have the uncomfortable conversation, how are you supposed to move forward?
Right. But you know what, I have to say that earlier in my career, I worked in an image industry and high price, high top shelf spirits. Yeah. And coming in as a very hardcore business person that you just described, that hangs by the number and what we need to sell, it was actually a very difficult notion for me, that what's going to make my number, I might not know, because the trend comes from the community. And you have to nurture these trends and push these trends and fuel them. And you, in essence, it's harder to predict where to place your bet, right? Because something might catch and make all your numbers in one product. And you forecasted 20.
I know.
That was very challenging because the role of a business person becomes the role of a nurturer of these creatives like yourself within a community that fuel that innovation and trend.
Sure.
So sorry, forgive the business people.
No. But so I'm going to give you an example. And I think this is a perfect example, which I thought was such a huge success. All right. And it's a simple product. All right. So, and when I tell you, listen, I have an amazing relationship with my VP of marketing and and her team, but we have and we're both very similar. We're both Latin. We're both very strong opinion. And we go and I'm like, you're wrong. And she's like, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. So we have that kind of relationship. A simple product like lip gloss. All right. So I went to Paris, 12 of us from across the world. We hand mixed, created the benchmarks. 13 glosses. It's a gloss, right? Not a big deal. We create these beautiful colors. In comes marketing. All right, well, this looks like that color in this lipstick and in that lip liner does X amount of dollars. We need to forecast high on this one because that's how it's doing in this and that. And I go, I agree. And they're like, well, we're going to cut those 2 colors. And I'm like, why are you cutting it? Well, we just don't foresee. We don't have any benchmarks. There's nothing really. And we just don't think the consumer is going to buy that. I go, I'm telling you right now, we don't have anything like this, number one. And I'm going to reference a color from 1996. And I'm giving you that experience because I worked in the 90s. And this color, I could not keep it in stock. And right now, since about maybe even 2 years ago, we keep recycling 90s trends in every different way. I go, do not cut it. She goes, I don't know. We're going to have to think about this. The GM comes in and she's like, we need a wild card, let's say, on the gondola in Sephora. She goes, I think we should put that pink color with the weird glitter in it, whatever. And they're like, I don't know. It's not going to make any money. I go, I'm telling you, put them put them front center.
Right.
They were going to cut it. She said, if this doesn't work, it's on you. We can't keep those 2 glosses in stock.
Hey, you're still around.
But it's having those uncomfortable conversations and not listen.
But if you can't innovate, if you can't deal with the uncertainty, then you cannot innovate. That's the whole point, right?
Right, but it's also I respect the business. I'm like, that's bottom dollar. You have to forecast. And when you don't forecast, probably you're right, Elena. They're like, well, now supply chain's telling me I got to wait 6 months because I didn't forecast. And now we're losing sales because we didn't realize that this is going to be the top selling piece. You know what I mean?
But then we all sit in this chair where we see that, crazy gloss with glitter making all the numbers. And as a business person, I say, well, thank you very much to my innovation team because you did push it through because that's probably what brought in the profit.
Right. And again, I think it's that, right? It's that having that relationship and allowing people like me for the business people to take a chance with what I'm bringing to the table, which has not always been like that. So that's kind of what I want to keep seeing in the future for every brand.
It's interesting because Elena, you used, I think, this word earlier about cultivating, you were talking about the spirits, whatever, this idea of I'm going to put a bunch of seeds down and at some point I'm going to go through and take the small plants out, whatever, to make room for the big ones and whatever. But how do I know I've probably taken that analogy way too far, but this idea of if I don't plant some of these, sort of innovative seeds, I'm never going to get something great because there's that thing that people say nobody ever walked into a focus group before there were iPhones and said, do you need an iPhone, and got a good answer, right? They would have said that's insane, right? And yet here we are all completely addicted to our phones, right? We almost wish that
I have a Samsung phone, so I might be out of the loop here.
I mean, it's a smartphone, right? It's your whole life is on this one little thing.
Right.
Exactly.
People would have said, to go back, if you had said to people, someday you're going to have this device that has all your music, you can call it, they'd be like, why would I need that? I have a Walkman,
I don't want people knowing my business, right?
right, or whatever. And it's just people don't know what they need or what they want. They just know the problems that they have. And you have to, are you going to be, and it's interesting, I think, in the beauty. I mean, it's like we used to, when we used to come up with. I remember working when Elena and I worked at Nabisco many years ago, and there was this guy there. It was an innovation guy, and he would always say, if you make a line of like, you know, whatever, 3 cookies or ice cream or whatever, you have to have chocolate and vanilla.
Yeah.
And then you can have all the other cool stuff. But you have to have chocolate and vanilla, but you have to have both, right? You can't not have the base, but you aren't saying don't have the base. You're saying have the base.
Have the base. You have to have the base because the base is going to pay the rent. Like
right.
You always have to protect the core. Right. And that's a reality of business. And that's the fight that I have on the other end with other makeup artists. Because they're like, why did you discontinue this? It was so great. And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, because y'all didn't buy it.
It's your fault.
What do you want me to tell you? You want me to? It literally was 0.05% of the total global business. It costs more money to produce based on MOQs for minimum order quantities than what we're selling. So like,
right.
You want me to keep something good? I mean, come on, like let's move on. Like there's a new product, work with the new product, let the old go, like goodbye. You know what I mean?
So Eddie, this has been such a fantastic conversation, and I kind of like I've let it go a little longer than I usually do because I just kind of want to let it go. But we are at that point where we should probably do the once around and have everybody give one thing that they want to leave our audience with. I'd like to joke that it's a hazing thing that I do to make the guest always go first, so you don't have any time to think about what your one thing is, and then I somehow always get to go last. So, but Eddie, what is one thing you want to leave our audience with?
Have the uncomfortable conversation that's going to lead to positive change. That is the most important thing.
Awesome. Eddie, before I give my one thing, what is the best, if people want to connect with you, reach you, whatever, what's the best way to do that?
I'm going to tell you probably social media, believe it or not. It's going to be on Instagram. And my Instagram is at Eddie Artistry, EDDIE Artistry. I probably talk to more people in my DMs than I do in my emails, believe it or not.
I totally get that. I do that in LinkedIn, but I get your point. And it does not surprise me at all that you said Instagram.
I mean, it's where I live on either TikTok or Instagram. And LinkedIn, I'm always like, LinkedIn is my like, where I actually scroll and read articles. Like, it's almost like my newspaper. And I do respond to people when they answer me on LinkedIn as well, but I'm hyper active on those two because of what I do.
Instagram makes absolute sense. If you hadn't said Instagram, I probably would have lost a bet with someone. But at any rate, my one thing, I'm gonna go to that deep conversation we're kind of going in the middle about, we got to let people be themselves. And I think the beauty industry has sort of moved in the direction of helping people be them, enhance who they are, as opposed to trying to make everybody kind of cookie cutter and look the same. And I think that's an amazing thing to say about the beauty industry. And I hope that the rest of the world can get back on track. So I will pass it to Elena. Yeah, I know.
Yes, and I would kind of second Eddie in that we all should push ourselves out of our comfort zone and be innovative in what we do. We're not all as fortunate as Eddie to be innovative in something beautiful, but if all of us push ourselves just a little bit harder, it would be better for, everybody and all across.
So that means that I should go beyond my gray sweatshirt, blue sweatshirt, and get a red sweatshirt.
Yeah, and I want to see nuts.
So my one thing, and actually I feel like we touched on this in a lot of ways, and this is a sort of like the political moment we're in. I think there's obviously a lot of heavy topics to talk about there, but I do feel like there's this, I feel like this beauty conversation and this self-expression conversation could allow sort of a level of resistance on a daily basis. And so I think that's just an interesting thing, how that the intersection of the political and beauty, I think is a really interesting topic that we could probably do another couple of hours conversation on. Yeah. Eddie, this was fantastic. I had so much fun in this episode. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you.